Vicky Gamble from Just Imagine. Thank you for joining me for the first of our Reading Journey book recommendations. This replaces our former Book Breeze recommendations and ties in more closely with our Reading Journey project and the Reading Journey digital reading journal. However, we hope the book recommendations will be useful to all teachers, librarians and nursery workers, regardless of whether your school currently uses the Reading Journey or not. We have changed the criteria for book selection to suit the purpose of the Reading Journey, so rather than presenting one big list, we've organised the presentation into 8 shorter videos covering the school years. Secondly, for the first time, we're working with the data generated by the Reading Journey app, which provides anonymised information about what children are reading. With thousands of books being uploaded to children's bookshelves every week, we're developing a comprehensive picture of children's reading choices. Together with pupil interviews, these provide valuable insight into children's reading preferences and motivations to read. So, in our quarterly selections, you will find books chosen primarily to appeal to children. However, we've also used our expertise to curate collections that nudge children to broaden their reading repertoires and make adventurous reading choices. Our position is to value children's reading preferences while also opening up the world of reading by offering choices that may not be as visible through mass media channels, supermarkets, or the high street. Each selection includes a variety of genre and formats that will suit children with different levels of reading attainment, in line with the general spread you would expect within a year group. There will be 4 collections released each year: the summer term, the new school year, the autumn term, and the spring term. Together, these will provide 40 new, recently published books each year to keep your book stock relevant and up to date. Of course, you do not need to be using the Reading Journey to find these packs useful. So, without further ado, let's have a look at the first selection. On the left, you can see our summer collection for Year 2. These books are intended for independent reading, though you'll want to give book introductions before adding to your reading area. The Reading Journey app is particularly well suited to children making independent book choices, as it's intended to support reading for pleasure and the development of reading identity. Year 2 is a critical year in this respect, as children's independence increases rapidly. I'll present each title in turn in a moment, but first, if you want to purchase these class sets, use the QR code on screen now to buy them at our discounted price. Schools can pay by invoice with the authority to purchase or by credit card. We're starting with Bumfish by Pauline Pinson, illustrated by Magali Laouche and translated into French and published by Pushkin Press. First of all, if you squirm at anything scatological, do not be put off by the title. This is a very funny book with a sensitive, tender heart. One word of caution though, if you have a Damien in your class or school, I would take steps to erase the name. It only occurs once, and replace it with something completely unlikely. The point is to demonstrate that Bumfish has a real name and he doesn't have to be called by his nickname, but it could have the reverse effect if you have a real Damien in class. Let's have a look inside. Bumfish. Bumfish has a face that looks like a bum. Everyone tells him so. Your face looks like a bum. Bumfish doesn't really know what to say. After all, his face does look like a bum. He decides to reply with fart noises. hilarious. Go on, do it again. It makes everyone laugh, and that makes them stop teasing him. But eventually, Bumfish doesn't want to be funny anymore. He wants to be normal. He decides to see a bit of the world. What about exploring the depths of the ocean? Down here, the rocks and corals are different. Bumfish meets a catfish, a sawfish, and some pilotfish. He's never seen anything like them before. He swims all the way down to the deepest depths, to the very bottom of the sea. It's inky dark, and the water is terribly cold. But it's also new and fascinating. Bumpfish passes a lanternfish, a funnelfish, and even a spannerfish. There's lots of really interesting things down here in the deep ocean. Even further down, he meets a cheddarfish. And so the two become friends. Bumfish thinks that cheddarfish looks strange and perhaps a little bit ugly. But they play games together. Cheddar shows him how to draw patterns in the sand. And the two are caught in a fishing net. The fisherman thinks that they're too weird and he throws them back into the sea. Bumfish goes home and introduces his friend to his mum, and they play a game of 20 questions and set each other riddles. They also become guardians of the deep, and they warn the other fish when the fishermen are coming. Sometimes they get caught, but they always get thrown back. And so they live with the other exciting and unusual creatures down in the bottom of the ocean. It's an ocean full of joy. Next, we have The Butterfly House, written and illustrated by Harry Woodgate and published by Andersen Press. This is a tender story that highlights the loneliness that can accompany mental health problems or aging, and reminds us that we have it in our gift to show kindness and make a difference. We probably all remember a house from childhood that seemed wild and overgrown. Perhaps we imagine stories about the inhabitant being scary and the house being avoided, or else something terrible might happen. The reality is that it was probably occupied by an elderly person struggling to maintain their home. There's a house in the story just like this at the end of Holly Street. And Holly is telling the story. The house at the end of our road wasn't like the others. It was wild and green, and mist curled around it like the fingers of a ghost. People thought it was scary, but I thought it was like something from a fairy tale. Holly decides to explore the old house, but when she sees an old woman through the window, she thinks it might be scary after all. Later, Holly's mum tells her that the house belongs to Miss Brown, who was probably more frightened of Holly creeping around in her garden. Holly starts a correspondence with Miss Brown, and they discover a shared love of nature. Then Holly learns about gardening and enlists the community's help to restore Miss Brown's garden to its former glory. In turn, this act of kindness helps Miss Brown feel better. Even if I feel sad, I know I am not alone, she says. The story ends as Holly muses, "We looked up as butterflies like jewels dipped and dived all around us. Miss Brown's smile unfurled like butterfly wings. It was like something from a fairy tale. Harry Woodgate's loose artwork is as joyful as the story, and I love the depiction of real butterflies that children can learn to identify and name. Next, we have The Runaway Tortoise by Holly Webb. This is one of her standalone animal stories in the Little Gem series for Barrington Stoke. Ava wants a pet dog, but Dad thinks they have enough to do looking after their sulcata tortoise, Albert. Ava doesn't think a tortoise is a very good pet, but she quickly comes to Albert's defense when her friend Minnie criticizes her pet. And when her aunt's dog Boots frightens poor Albert, Ava switches into full protective mode. She is distraught to find that the traumatized tortoise has burrowed his way out of the garden, looking for a safe place to stay. Fortunately, she tracks him down and brings him home, realizing that she loves her tortoise and that he is the perfect pet for her. We'll just have a look at some of the pages so that you can see the layout. So it has very friendly illustration. At the front of the book, we have some facts about sulcata tortoises. And then you can see the book has short chapters, plenty of white space on this off-white paper for easier reading. A nice approachable font, plenty of white space, and full page illustrations. Some pages without illustration. Turn that down just a little bit so you can see. Princess Mina by Kirsty Applebaum, illustrated by Sahar Hagu and published by Nosy Crow, is the latest in this popular series. Bold, bright illustration, clear layout, and an easy-to-read font make this series a good choice for supporting readers at the transition stage to becoming fully independent word readers. But do be aware that some text is printed on dark backgrounds, which can be problematic for children with visual impairments. For instance, this text on the green background is harder to read in the book than it is on screen. Nevertheless, most readers should be able to manage it. Lorenzo the dragon's mum has made lots of lovely eggs that look like dragon eggs, and together with Princess Mina, Lorenzo hides the eggs ready for the great big egg hunt. The invitations go out, but then Lorenzo realizes he has accidentally hidden Mum's special egg, and now the race is on to find it before the guests. Our next book is another brightly coloured first fiction title, Cat and Dumpling Go Camping. This is a standalone story in the Cat and Dumpling series, written and illustrated by Nicola Kent and published by Oxford University Press. An easy-to-read font and generous layout make for comfortable reading experience. On the whole, there's enough contrast between the font and the background colour. These two unlikely friends are planning a holiday. Cat likes trekking up mountains, touring ancient wonders, and snorkeling in the sea. Dog likes gentle tree spotting, reading by a river, and holidays with no giant balls of string. The giant ball of string is a big obstacle and threatening to put pay to their holiday plans. Will they eventually get away? And will the holiday go off without a hitch? With Cat and Dumpling's history, that seems unlikely. Emerald and the Sea Dragon, a new book in the Emerald series, will delight Harriet Muncaster's fans. This small format with two-colour spot printing is attractively produced. The layout is very spacious, there's plenty of white space, and it's very heavily illustrated. The familiarity of the series supports young readers in developing confidence. Knowing what to expect from a story allows more processing space for reading the words and building reading road miles. Guinea Pig Rescue is the 12th book in the popular Wigglesbottom primary series by Blue Peter Award winner Pamela Butchart, illustrated by Becca Moore and published by Nosy Crow. These stories are the next step on from Princess Mina, Emerald and Cat and Dumpling. They use spot colour printing, in this case yellow and black, with high quality paper stock and a high illustration to text ratio that makes this a very pleasant reading experience for children developing confidence in their independent reading. Block capitals are used frequently for emphasis, which children will enjoy reading aloud. This collection of 3 short stories follows the exploits of Class 2R and their teacher. There are lots of classroom moments that will be very familiar to Year 2 children. I'm just going to show you the inside pages. It's by Pamela Butchart, illustrated by Becca Moore, published by Nosy Crow. So, as I mentioned, we have this 2-colour printing with this spot yellow colour, and it's illustrated throughout. And here at the beginning we can see the characters who feature in these stories with the teacher, Miss Riley, and here's Mr. Harris over here. And the book has 3 stories within it, 3 short stories, including the title story, The Guinea Pig Rescue. And just to show you that the book is very heavily illustrated throughout, short text broken up with illustration. And that gives you a really good idea. Sophie Henn's Happy Hills series is proving to be extremely popular with children using the reading journey, so we're thrilled to include the 4th book in this collection. Cheesy Bob Strikes Again features the Happy Hills gang. These chibi-style characters are reminiscent of Pokemon. There's a Happy Hills resident for everyone. Do you have a favourite? I think mine is Shroomer. That's the mushroom in the top hat. In this book, there's a new villain, or in GameSpeak terms, a new boss in town. Cheesy Bob is the very naughty monkey magician. Cheeky Bob is out for revenge, and only Ace knows the truth. Will he be able to warn the gang in time? Well, there'd be no story without a bit of havoc, would there? And there are lots of creative tasks and activities in these books. Football Kicks by Emiliano Miliardo is exactly as described on the cover. 50 comic strip jokes, each one taking up a single page. It's a lovely format and will no doubt inspire children to create their own comic strip jokes. Big Brilliant World is vibrantly illustrated by Aisha Tengiz with text by Matt Ralphs. It explores 12 major cities. The busy pages are peppered with fun facts about culture, food, landmarks, and language snippets. There's plenty here to talk about at home or to share with other children in class. Cities include Barcelona, London, Tokyo, Mexico City, Rome, Istanbul, and more. If sharing with a class, this might inspire you to make your own class book, which could include cities from children's heritage backgrounds, cities visited on holidays, as well as the city closest to where you live. So that rounds up this selection. I hope you found this useful and that you'll join me again in July when I'll be presenting the collections for the new academic year. If you'd like to find out more about the reading journey, we're offering schools a month's free trial this summer. Please get in touch with assistant@justimagine.co.uk and we can set you up. Please note that the reading journey is only available to verified schools in the UK and internationally. It's not available to individuals or to other companies. Until the next time, have a great term. See you then.